The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. That sound, the sharp, unnatural jolt in the silence of the night, ripped Mira out of a dream she wouldn't remember. Her eyes opened to darkness, her breath caught somewhere between sleep and the pit in her stomach. She reached across the empty side of the bed instinctively, but her hand met only cold sheets. Armin wasn't home. Again. A frown creased her forehead as she grabbed her phone. The screen glowed with an unknown number flashing persistently. Who calls at 2:47 a.m. unless it's an emergency? Her thumb hovered, hesitating. 1,000 irrational fears spun in her mind. Accident? Family emergency? Wrong number? She answered. Hello? Her voice came out thick, drowsy, laced with anxiety. There was silence on the line. Then a breath. And then a woman's voice. Is this Mira Khan? Mira sat up instantly, the sheets falling away. Her heart rate doubled. Yes. Who is this? A pause. Then the voice cracked, trembling. I think you should know. Armin is with me. He's hurt. The world around Mira turned static. A roaring buzz filled her ears. She pressed the phone harder against her ear. What did you say? I didn't know he was married, the woman continued, now crying. I didn't know until tonight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. Where is he? Mira demanded. What happened? But the line had gone dead. Mira stared at the phone. Her hands shook as a cold dread settled over her chest like a stone. Her husband was with another woman. That woman claimed he was injured. And now, nothing. She tried calling Armin. No answer. She called again. Voicemail. And then, a message arrived. Mira. I need you. Please don't call anyone. Just come alone. I'll explain everything. Send money. I'll send the location. Please. Trust me. No punctuation. No details. Just fear. Desperation. And a request for money. Mira stood barefoot on the wooden floor, the cold biting through her skin as she read the message again and again. Her throat tightened. Her mind warred between outrage and fear. Was he kidnapped? Was he cheating? Was this all some elaborate trap? She stumbled to the kitchen and poured herself water, spilling half of it. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Why was Armin asking for money? And why did he say, don't call anyone? It didn't sound like her husband. The man she'd known for 7 years. The man who couldn't lie about burning toast, let alone keep secrets. But something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones. She sat on the couch, staring at the wall clock. 3:09 a.m. Still no follow-up. No location. No explanation. Just that one cryptic message. Mira opened the messages between them from earlier that evening. He had sent her a simple text around 8:30 p.m. Working late. Don't wait up. Love you. Working late. Had he sent that while he was with her? With that woman? She tried to breathe, tried to think. Her mind refused to settle. A single emotion had taken root, betrayal. And yet, something still felt off. Something didn't align. She picked up her phone and searched his Google Maps location history. It was usually on. Armin never paid attention to privacy settings. But now, it was disabled. Her stomach dropped. She tried logging into their shared bank account. Her fingers moved with muscle memory. 2 accounts. 1 joint. 1 personal. The joint account showed the last transaction was 3 days ago, grocery store. But the personal one, something had changed. Over 5 Indian rupees lakhs had been withdrawn in smaller chunks over the past 2 weeks. Another 20,000 Indian rupees just last night. Withdrawals in cash. No trace. She sat frozen. Where was the money going? Who was this woman? Why did Armin need more? And then a thought hit her. What if he wasn't in danger? What if he was running? What if he'd been planning this? She remembered a strange moment just a week ago. Armin had come home smelling faintly of jasmine perfume, one she didn't use. When she asked, he brushed it off, saying a female client had spilled tea on herself at the office. She hadn't thought much of it then. Why would she? But now, it clicked. Something had started changing recently. Subtle things. Fewer conversations. Late nights. Less laughter. Secrets. And now this woman. This accident. This phone call. And that message. Please don't call anyone. Just come alone. Why would he insist on secrecy unless he was either in serious trouble, or hiding something? She glanced at the time again. 3:22 a.m. She couldn't sit still anymore. Mira got up and dressed quickly. Black sweater, jeans, flats. No makeup. Just a bag with her essentials, including some cash, her ID, and pepper spray. She didn't know what she'd find, but she wouldn't go unprepared. The street outside was hauntingly quiet. A stray dog watched her from across the lane as she stepped into her car. Her hand still trembled as she turned the key. She kept staring at her phone, hoping he'd send the location. And then, at 3:33 a.m., another message arrived. J.P. Nagar, backside of Sai petrol pump. Abandoned workshop. Come to the gate. Alone. The workshop. They'd passed by that area before. It was an old garage space, shut down since COVID. She remembered how overgrown the lot had become. Why would he be there? Unless he didn't want anyone to find him. The drive was quiet. The roads were nearly empty. Just a few trucks, some late-night auto rickshaws, and her racing thoughts. As she neared the petrol pump, her pulse quickened. She parked across the road under a broken streetlight, killed the engine, and stared into the darkness of the workshop lot. It looked deserted. An old chain-link fence surrounded the structure. The gate was ajar. She stepped out cautiously. The silence pressed in on her ears as she approached. Armin, she called softly. No response. She entered through the gate, every step echoing louder than the last. Her breath caught when she saw a figure slumped against the wall near the building. Armin, she rushed forward. But it wasn't him. It was the woman. Barely 24, maybe. Dressed in a wrinkled salwar suit. Hair tangled. Face pale. And blood on her sleeve. He said you'd come, the woman said weakly. Where is he? Mira demanded, glancing around. Is he okay? What happened to him? Who are you? The woman didn't answer immediately. She stared at Mira, guilt swimming in her eyes. I'm Syra, she whispered. We were going to open a cafe together. He promised me, he said it was all planned. Myra's blood turned to ice. What? He said he'd left you. That you two were separated. That he just needed time. That the money was coming soon. The world tilted under Myra's feet. You were having an affair with my husband? I didn't know, Syra said quickly, eyes wide. Not at first. He told me you were just his ex. That it was over. Mira looked around again. Where is he? The woman hesitated. He left. Said if you came, I should give you this. She reached into her dupatta and handed Mira a sealed envelope. Mira tore it open with shaking hands. Inside was a note. Mira. I never wanted you to find out like this. I messed up. I know. But I didn't know how else to fix it. I borrowed money from some people, bad people. I was trying to build something new, something better. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'll make it right. Just give me some time. I'm sorry. There was no date. No location. No explanation of how much money. No details about the bad people. Just a weak apology. Mira stood there, under the dim sky, surrounded by dust and lies, and felt something deep inside her shatter. This wasn't just betrayal. This was the beginning of something far worse. The letter trembled in Myra's hands. Its edges were crumpling under the pressure of her fingers, her knuckles white. She stared at the hastily scribbled words again, as if reading them enough times would unlock some hidden truth. I borrowed money from some people. Bad people. She looked up. The girl, Syra, stood a few feet away, arms wrapped around herself, eyes swollen from crying. Where is he? Mira asked again, voice steadier now, colder. Where did he go? I told you, Syra said, voice soft. He just left. After he got the message to you, he said he had to disappear. He didn't say where. You're lying. Syra flinched. I'm not. I swear I'm not. Mira stepped forward. You said you and Armin were starting a cafe together. You said you didn't know he was married. Then you suddenly have a letter from him? And he just vanishes? What aren't you telling me? Syra hesitated. Mira could see it now, the shift in her eyes. That flicker of calculation behind the tears. This girl knew more. You think I came here unprepared? Mira asked, reaching into her bag and pulling out her phone. This entire conversation? It's being recorded. So either tell me the truth, or I go to the police. That worked. Syra's expression cracked. Okay. Okay. There's more. Mira crossed her arms, waiting. Syra sat down on the broken cement slab near the workshop wall. Her shoulders sagged, her voice a notch above a whisper. I met Armin 8 months ago. At a cafe in Indiranagar. He was alone, working on a business plan. We started talking. He came back the next day. And again the day after that. Myra's jaw clenched. He said he was launching something, an artisan cafe meets co-working space. Said he needed a local partner with food experience. I'd been trying to start my own thing too, so it felt like fate. You trusted a man you just met? Mira said sharply. Syra gave a sad smile. I was stupid. But he was kind. Encouraging. He made me feel seen. That hurt Mira more than she'd expected. Because she knew that version of Armin. The gentle listener. The quiet motivator. He had once made her feel that way. Syra continued. He said he was getting funding from private investors. But it kept getting delayed. Then, a few months ago, he told me he needed to pay off a short-term loan he took for the lease deposit. Said he borrowed from a guy named Raghu by someone outside the system. Dangerous. Said if he didn't pay on time, things would get bad. Myra's stomach twisted. Why didn't he come to me? She muttered. Syra looked at her, surprised. You're his wife. Why would he come to you if he was already living a lie? Mira swallowed the lump rising in her throat. How much money? She asked. I don't know the full amount, Syra said. But I know he gave Raghu around 4 Indian rupees lakhs last month. And then again, 1 Indian rupee lakh last week. He said the man was still threatening him. Mira suddenly remembered the withdrawal logs. They matched. So he used our savings. My money. Syra looked down. Probably. A long pause followed. The cold night clung to their skin like wet cloth. And tonight? Mira pressed. What happened tonight? Syra hugged herself tighter. Ragu's men came. 2 of them. They showed up at the building Armin rented for the cafe. He wasn't there. They came to me instead. Asked where he was. I said I didn't know. One of them slapped me. Said if he didn't pay the rest, with interest, they'd come for both of us. Myra's breath caught. What did Armin do? He came about 20 minutes later. Saw me bleeding. Lost it. Tried to fight them. But they overpowered him. Beat him up, tied him, threw him into the back of a black Bolero. They left. I don't know where they took him. Then how did I get that message? Syra dug into her bag and pulled out a cracked old phone. They forced him to text you from my phone. Said if he didn't get the money, he wouldn't see another sunrise. One of them dictated the message. They made him send it, then took him. Said I should stay behind and explain, in case you showed up. Mira stared at the phone. The screen was broken, the battery at 4%. But the message history was there. It was real. He had been taken. The letter was his, but the message was under duress. She pressed her hand to her mouth, mind racing. Why didn't you call the police? Syra shook her head violently. You don't understand. Ragu's got people inside the police. You go to them, you're dead. Armin told me that too. They operate under the radar. Everyone pretends they don't exist, but they control everything. Mira felt the blood drain from her face. So he's being held somewhere. And they're expecting more money? Syra nodded. Indian rupee 5 lakhs. By tomorrow night. Or. She didn't finish the sentence. Mira closed her eyes, trying to stay calm. Her husband had betrayed her. Lied. Cheated. Risked their future for some fantasy business, and another woman. And yet, despite all that, he was still hers. Her husband. The man she'd spent 7 years building a life with. And now he was in the hands of criminals. What would she do? Call his parents? No, they'd crumble. Call the police? Not an option, if what Syra said was true. Call friends? And say what? That her husband was missing after cheating on her and borrowing from a loan shark? She was alone in this. For now. Do you have the address of the building Armin rented? Mira asked suddenly. Syra looked up, confused. Why? I need to see it. Syra hesitated, then pulled out a crumpled business card. The Roastery Project. 17 Halves, Richmond Road Extension. Manager, Armin Khan. Opening soon. Mira stared at the card. The name was real. The address too. He hadn't been lying about everything. We're going, Mira said. Now? Yes. Syra nodded weakly and followed her to the car. They reached the location at 4:16 a.m. The street was dimly lit, the structure nestled between a shuttered boutique and a closed medical store. The building was old, its gate rusted, but the windows had new grills. There was scaffolding on one side. Armin had really started something here. The lock on the gate was broken. Mira pushed it open. The space inside was sparse. Paint buckets, wooden counters, chairs stacked in a corner. A few signs with logo sketches lay scattered on the floor. Then Mira saw something near the back wall, a ledger notebook. She picked it up and flipped through it. Names. Dates. Amounts. At least a dozen entries. People Armin had paid. People he owed. And then, halfway through, she saw. Raghu, initial advance, Indian rupee 3,000,000. Plus 10% monthly vig. Dubai, June 10th. Myra's blood froze. It was June 16th today. He was 6 days overdue. At the end of the page, 2 words were scrawled in red ink. Final warning. She turned the page. A scribbled map. Unlabeled. Just a red dot and a line from the main road, with a crude arrow. What is this? Mira asked. Syra peeked over her shoulder. That's the go down. The one Armin said he was taken to once. He went there when he gave Raghu the first payment. Said it was somewhere outside Kankapura Road. Mira took a photo of the map. That was something. Then she flipped to the last page. And found something that didn't belong. A photo. Folded, hidden in the seam. A photo of Mira. She was sitting at Cubbon Park, reading. Armin had taken it years ago. Her favorite Candid. He'd kept it here. Syra looked away. I didn't know he had that. Neither did Mira. Back in the car, Mira stared at the photo. Maybe he'd loved her. Maybe he still did. Maybe he was just a coward, who made the worst mistake of his life and couldn't face her. But he was in trouble now. And no matter how hurt she was, Mira Khan was not going to sit by and let the man she once loved die because of some blood-sucking loan shark. She would find him. And then, she'd decide what came next. Forgiveness. Or justice. But first, she had a map. A name. And a debt to settle. The morning sun hadn't yet touched the horizon when Mira pulled into a quiet side road off Kankapura, following nothing more than a crude map sketched by a desperate man. Syra sat beside her in the passenger seat, silent, her gaze flitting nervously across every tree, every turning, every shadow. The city hadn't yet stirred to life, but Myra's mind raced. She had spent the last hour tracing the directions on her phone, aligning landmarks to the sketch Armin had hidden in his notebook. It wasn't much, but it was enough. And now here they were. A broken-down signboard loomed ahead. Mahalakshmi Timber Depot. Closed until further notice. The building behind it was large, rusted, and wrapped in creeping vines. It stood like a forgotten memory, quiet, cold, and oddly alive. Mira parked a little down the road, out of sight. That's it, Syra whispered, gripping her sleeves. That's the go down. Mira stared ahead, her jaw clenched. This was it. The place where Armin had brought the money. The place where he was likely being held, if he was still alive. But Mira had come prepared. She reached under the seat and pulled out a power bank, a small kitchen knife, and a micro voice recorder app already rolling on her phone. Syra stared at the knife, eyes wide. I'm not going in to fight, Mira said quietly. But I'm not going in helpless either. Syra nodded slowly. Wait here, Mira added. What? No, I can come. You've done enough, Mira said, not unkindly. If anything happens to me, drive to the next police station. Play them the recording. Give them the location. Syra opened her mouth, but Mira was already stepping out. The early morning air was thick and damp. A bird shrieked in the distance. Mira moved fast, sticking to the edge of the building, every step echoing in her ears. The go-down had a side entrance, half-hinged, partly open. She slipped in. The smell hit her first. Rotting wood. Oil. Sweat. And something else, like blood and rust mixed in the dark. Inside, it was massive. Stacks of timber lined the far walls. Rusted machinery sat abandoned. Near the center stood a small, elevated office room with foggy glass panels. There were voices. She ducked behind a stack of plywood, barely breathing. Footsteps. Two men, arguing. He said he'd get the cash by last night. And where is he now? Crying in the corner? Useless piece of. Shut up. If Ragu finds out we lost the guy. He didn't escape. He's locked in the storeroom. Stop panicking. Myra's heart stopped. He was here. The storeroom. Where? She scanned the area. There, a heavy door toward the back, secured with a rusted latch and a new padlock. She crouched lower as one of the men walked past, lean, wearing a black hoodie, carrying a steel baton. The other followed, taller, on the phone. She's his wife, idiot. She's loaded. Let her come. Take the money, break the deal, clean the mess. No loose ends. Myra's skin went cold. They weren't going to release Armin. They were going to kill him, even if she paid. She had to move. Now. She waited until they disappeared into the small office room above. Then she bolted across the floor, crouched low, staying behind cover, until she reached the storage room door. The lock was thick. But she had something sharper, the car key. She jammed it in, wiggling, prying. It took effort. Her hands bled from the friction. But then. Click. The latch fell open. She slipped inside and shut the door behind her. The room was pitch dark. She flicked on her phone flashlight. And there he was. Tied to a steel pole, shirt torn, dried blood on his temple, eyes swollen shut. Armin, she whispered. His head lifted slowly, dazed. He blinked against the light, then froze. Mira, he croaked. I'm here, she said quickly, rushing to him. Quiet. Let me cut the rope. He flinched. You shouldn't be here. Too late. She sliced at the ropes with the kitchen knife. It wasn't easy, cheap nylon, tight knots, but desperation gave her strength. Armin winced as the last tie snapped and his arms fell forward. Can you walk? She asked. I think so. They stumbled to the door. Mira peeked through a crack. Still clear. Stay behind me, she whispered. She moved fast, guiding him around the plywood stacks toward the side entrance. Her heart thundered. Almost there. 10 feet. 5. Then a voice rang out. Hey! A shout. A loud clatter. The two men had spotted them from the upper office. Mira and Armin ran. They burst into the open air just as footsteps pounded behind them. Mira didn't stop. She sprinted toward the car where Syra waited, wide-eyed. Go! Open the door. Syra flung it open. Mira shoved Armin into the back seat and jumped in. Syra hit the gas. A metal object crashed against the back windshield, cracking it. A scream rang out. But they didn't stop. They drove. Fast. Silent. Breathing like hunted animals. Only when they reached a crowded petrol station 10 kilometers away did Mira speak. Get out, she said. Syra blinked. What? Both of you. Now. Syra helped Armin out. They staggered to a corner bench near the food court. Mira followed. Then she turned on him. What the hell were you thinking? Her voice was low and dangerous. Armin looked at her like a man drowning. I didn't mean for any of this. You lied to me. You took our money. You told this girl, she motioned to Syra, that you were separated. You used her. You started a business behind my back. And then borrowed from a criminal? I was desperate, he said weakly. The cafe was real. I wanted to make something that was mine. I didn't want to take more of your money. I thought, if I could do this on my own. She laughed, bitter and hollow. You didn't want to take my money, so you took it anyway, hid it, lied about it, and then got involved with someone else? Armin had no answer. He looked at Syra. Mira followed his gaze. You still love her? She asked him bluntly. He hesitated. It wasn't love. Not really. It was escape. Silence. Mira turned to Syra. And you? Syra looked down. I believed him. That's all I'll say. Mira stared at them both. A strange calm settled over her. Here's what's going to happen, she said. You're going to disappear, Armin. I don't want to see your face again until I decide what to do next. You'll go to your mother's place. Or to hell. I don't care. But you stay silent. I will deal with Raghu. Not for you, but because I don't want a blood-soaked secret dragging me down. He nodded slowly. She turned to Syra. You're coming with me. Syra looked stunned. What? Why? Because you were part of this. Whether you knew the full story or not. And if anything happens to me, I want someone who knows the truth. Then she added, and because I don't think I trust Armin enough to let him out of my sight completely. Syra swallowed, but nodded. Armin, Mira said, get a burner phone. If I call, you answer. One chance. One shot at redemption. If I even sense that you're lying again. She left the sentence hanging. He didn't argue. He just sat there, broken, bruised, and ashamed. That night, Mira sat alone in her flat. Everything felt quieter than usual. The photo of herself that Armin had hidden was on the table. She stared at it for a long time. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just began planning. Because this wasn't over. She didn't know who Raghu was. She didn't know what else Armin had gotten them tangled in. But she was going to find out. And she would end this. On her terms. Mira hadn't slept in 2 nights. Every time she closed her eyes, Armin's swollen face flashed before her, his trembling hands, the cold sweat on his neck, the smell of fear clinging to his clothes. It wasn't pity that kept her awake. It was something darker. Rage. But rage alone wasn't enough anymore. She needed answers. She needed leverage. She needed to know exactly who she was up against, Raghu. And she knew just where to start. 1. The first thread. Mira sat across from Armin's cousin, Kabir, at a small South Indian cafe in Indiranagar. I don't know what Armin's done now, Kabir said, sipping his filter coffee. But if he's gotten involved with Raghu Mehta, he's either crazy or suicidal. Mira didn't blink. You know him? Kabir glanced around, then leaned in. Everyone in Bangalore's startup and real estate circles knows Raghu. He used to be legit, ran a chain of sports bars, then dabbled in fintech, crypto, and, I think, even loan apps. But he got greedy. When he didn't make it big, he started laundering. And now he's fully underground. Meaning? He lends to small businesses with high interest, zero documentation. Once you default, you're done. Your accounts freeze. Your house gets broken into. Or worse, your name shows up in a headline next to the word suicide. Myra's fingers curled around her teacup. Armin owed him 40 Indian rupees lakhs, she said. He paid 20 Indian rupees lakhs, then disappeared. Raghu's men had him locked in a warehouse. Kabir sighed. Then Raghu will consider him a threat. He doesn't let people walk away. I don't plan to walk away, Mira said. I plan to break him. Kabir blinked. You're serious? Mira nodded. I have nothing left to lose. 2. The deal. That night, Mira met with Syra in the same dim flat they'd escaped 2 days earlier. Syra had barely spoken since the rescue. Guilt had carved lines into her face that hadn't been there before. He's not calling me, she said. Not even to say sorry. You don't want him to, Mira replied. Syra looked down. I didn't know he was married. I didn't even want the business. He said I was part of something, bigger than my little job, bigger than my past. And I believed him. Because I wanted to believe I mattered to someone. Mira looked at her, really looked. The girl in front of her wasn't the homewrecker she had imagined. She was just another casualty in Armin's pattern of cowardice and charm. I believe you, Mira said quietly. But I need you now. For what? To bait Raghu. Syra's head snapped up. What? You've met him. You've been to his cafe. You know what he wants. And you're the only person in this mess he hasn't seen as a threat yet. Syra's face went pale. You want me to go back? No, Mira said. I want you to let him think you're desperate again. 3. The meeting. Raghu looked nothing like Mira expected. She watched him from a nearby SUV, parked on the far end of a crowded Koramangala pub street. Syra stood on the sidewalk, fidgeting with her scarf. Raghu approached casually, wearing a crisp white shirt, gold chain barely hidden under the collar, sunglasses, even though it was nearly 7 p.m. He looked clean. Too clean. A predator in polished shoes. Mira clicked record on her phone, her Bluetooth mic catching everything. Syra, I didn't know what else to do. He's gone. He left me. I need help. Raghu laughs, so the golden boy bailed, huh? Why am I not surprised? Syra, I can pay. Not everything, but some. Or, maybe I can work it off. Raghu, pause, that's a bold offer. You still have the cafe access. Syra, the place is shut down. Raghu, you'd be surprised. Sometimes dead businesses hide live secrets. Mira frowned. What did that mean? Raghu continued, let's do this. You meet me tomorrow. Same time. I'll bring my man. You bring whatever's left. If it's not money, make it worth my while. Syra, quiet, okay. They shook hands. He left. Mira stepped out of the car as Syra returned, visibly shaking. You okay? Mira asked. I feel like throwing up. You did great. And we're halfway there. Halfway to what? To bringing this bastard down. 4. The hidden ledger. The next morning, Mira returned to the shuttered cafe that Armin had opened with Syra. The place had been locked for weeks. But Armin had once told her, back when things were still normal, that he kept a backup ledger hidden. In case the investors ever screw us, he'd laughed. Gotta keep receipts, right? Mira broke open the lock with a hammer. The cafe was dark, dusty, and eerily untouched. Broken chairs. A torn menu. And behind the counter, nothing. At first. Until she noticed a loose plank under the cash register. Inside it, a leather notebook. She flipped through it, heart pounding. Every page was a log. Payments to Raghu. Cash deposits. Fake invoices. And names. Dozens of them. Small business owners. Coders. Cafe managers. All tied to Raghu's web. At the back, a single sheet stood out. A blackmail ledger. Each name had a note beside it. Ajay Varma, cheating scandal, recorded call. Pooja Shah, abortion cover-up, photos. Nickel row, money laundering, pending ED notice. Mira froze. This wasn't just debt collection. It was control. She snapped pictures of every page. And then she ran. 5. The confrontation. That evening, Mira met Raghu face to face. They were on a rooftop bar in Jayanagar, surrounded by loud music and distracted strangers. He sipped whiskey, smiling. "I thought you'd be older," he said. "But you've got a good face. Sharp. You've got a good racket," she replied. He raised an eyebrow. "I know about your ledger," she said. "The one with all your leverage." The smile froze. "I have it. Copies too. Stored where you'll never find them." He leaned in, eyes now like stone. "You're bluffing." She showed him one photo, Ajay Varma's entry. Raghu leaned back slowly. "You're Arman's wife." Mira nodded. "You think you can scare me?" "No," she said calmly. "I think I can ruin you." Raghu chuckled darkly. "You have guts. I'll give you that. But you don't know who you're dealing with." "I know exactly who I'm dealing with," she said. "And I know how this ends." "How?" "You leave Arman alone. You erase his debt. You don't touch Syra. And you disappear." He laughed. Or your ledger goes viral." He paused, then smiled wider. "You'd be surprised what people will forgive a rich man for." "I'm counting on it," she said. "But you know what they won't forgive?" She leaned forward. "Hurting women." His smile vanished. 6. The news cycle. 2 days later, Raghu Mehta's name trended on Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. A whistleblower email leaked photos from his ledger. Influencers picked it up. Media outlets followed. Hashtags bloomed. Hashtag MetaLeaks. Hashtag Debt and Shame. Hashtag Raghu revealed. One by one, his victims came forward. By week's end, Raghu's businesses were raided. His accounts frozen. No one knew where he went. But Mira did. 7. The choice. She found him at a bungalow on the outskirts of Mysore. He looked thinner. Unshaven. Paranoid. "How did you find me?" he asked, slamming the door behind her. "I never stopped looking." He looked at her like a ghost. "I lost everything." "You earned nothing." He scoffed. "You think you've won? Arman still lied to you. He's still the man who broke you." "No," Mira said. "He's the man who showed me what I'm capable of." She slid a brown envelope on the table. "What's that?" "Proof that I haven't turned it all in yet. I've kept one copy of your ledger. As insurance." He stared at it. "So this is blackmail now?" "No," she said. "It's control." Then she left. 8. The silence after the storm. Weeks passed. Mira moved out of the flat. Bought her own. Not in the expensive part of town. Just enough space for peace. And silence. She started consulting for financial ethics firms. Teaching others how to spot red flags. Syra went back to college. Journalism. She said she wanted to tell real stories. Mira gave her a scholarship from a hidden account. Arman called once. She didn't answer. He sent an email. Apologizing. Rambling. She marked it as read. Then deleted it. 1. The quiet before. Myra's new apartment was small but filled with light. A stark contrast to the chaos she had endured. Each morning, she sat by the window with her coffee and looked out over the quiet park. It wasn't about forgiveness, not of Arman, not of herself, not even of the system that allowed men like Raghu to thrive. It was about clarity. A month had passed since Raghu disappeared. A month since the digital leak brought his empire crashing down. His name still trended occasionally, missing, under investigation, last seen in Mysore, but no one knew where he had gone. Except Mira. She had walked away from him in that bungalow with the envelope on the table, thinking it was over. But evil doesn't vanish. It hides. And sometimes, it waits. 2. The message. One rainy afternoon, Myra's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. You didn't finish it. Now someone else will. She stared at it. No name. No context. Just those 11 chilling words. She showed it to Syra the next day over lunch. The young woman had dyed her hair short and dark, shedding the past like an old skin. That's a threat, Syra said. But not from Raghu. How do you know? Because that's how he talks when he's trying to scare you. This? This sounds like someone warning you. Mira nodded slowly. Someone else? Who? 3. The pattern. She began to notice it a few days later. A car parked too long outside her building. A man in a hoodie on the opposite bench of the park, never reading, never on the phone, just watching. A delivery order she hadn't placed. At first, she thought she was being paranoid. Trauma plays tricks. Makes shadows grow. But then came the second message. What Raghu started was never his alone. And he wasn't the worst of them. This time, it came with a photo. Of Mira. On her balcony. Taken that morning. Her breath caught in her throat. 4. Kabir's warning. Kabir met her at a chai stand late that night. His hair was longer, and his eyes darted constantly, like a man who hadn't rested since the Raghu exposé. I knew this would happen, he said. You shook a web. And Raghu? He was just one spider. You said he laundered money. Through loan apps. Nightclubs. Startups. Kabir nodded. Exactly. But where do you think that money goes? Mira frowned. It's cleaned and funneled into shell companies. Political donations. Real estate. Black market tech deals. You think someone like Raghu builds all that alone? So who else is involved? Kabir looked her dead in the eye. People who still have power. People who want their secrets buried. And you just forced one of them into hiding. Mira felt a chill slide down her spine. So they're watching me? They're deciding whether you're a threat. Or a tool. 5. The Whisperer. The next day, Mira received a manila envelope under her door. No name. No return address. Inside, a USB drive. And a folded note. Watch before you decide. Because this is bigger than your pain. The USB contained a video file, grainy and time-stamped 2 years ago. A woman, no more than 25, sat across from Raghu in what looked like a private office. Her voice was calm but strained. You promised protection. And you got funding, Raghu snapped. That wasn't part of the deal. I wanted to help women. You turned it into a facade. I gave you money, didn't I? Money from trafficked girls? The clip ended abruptly. Myra's stomach churned. This wasn't just about debts. This was exploitation. Human trafficking disguised as funding. And somewhere along the way, Raghu had partners. 6. The New Face. That evening, Mira received a knock on her door. A woman stood there, mid-30s, dressed like a corporate strategist but with eyes that had seen war. I'm Nina, she said. We need to talk. Inside, she got to the point. I work with a network. We uncover abuse rings masked as investment platforms, crypto scams, grooming disguised as mentorship, fake accelerators for vulnerable women. Let me guess, Mira said. You've had your eye on Raghu. Nina nodded. But he was never the big fish. Just the one who got sloppy. And now I've made it worse by exposing him? No, Nina said. You've made it dangerous. But that's good. Because danger forces the rot to reveal itself. Mira crossed her arms. So what do you want from me? We want you to join us. Use your skills. Your access. Your understanding of how men like him operate. And if I say no? They'll keep coming anyway. Because they've already seen what you're capable of. Whether you choose to act or not, you're already part of this war. 7. The tapes. Mira joined. Reluctantly at first. But then she saw the tapes. Hundreds of hours of conversations recorded by survivors, whistleblowers, and undercover agents. Raghu was just one of 14 names. The syndicate ran across India, with key nodes in Hyderabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, and even Dubai. Some had political clout. Others used religion as a shield. Some even masqueraded as NGOs. And women? They were tools. Tokens. Disposables. Mira listened to one tape of a 19-year-old developer who was forced to trade photos for seed funding. Another of a bar manager whose brother was kidnapped after she refused to work as a mule for crypto laundering. This wasn't just fraud. It was a machine. And Mira knew its language. 8. The infiltration. Her first mission, pose as an investor interested in funding a new women-focused startup accelerator in Pune. The bait, access to a hidden VC network known for exploiting underage interns and ghosting whistleblowers. Nina prepped her. You're not going in to play hero. You're going in to document. Record. Connect dots. Mira nodded. For 2 weeks, she wore the mask of success. Confident. Ambitious. Curious about alternative investments. She met a man named Siddharth Jain, smooth, polite, dripping with privilege. He never touched her. He just asked too many questions. You know Raghu, right? He was a friend of my husband's, she lied. Until he ran. Tough break. Shame, really. Smart guy. But his mouth got ahead of him. Mira smiled. But inside, she filed that name. Siddharth Jain. Another spider. 9. The trap. On her last night in Pune, she received a call from an unknown number. Raghu. His voice was hoarse. Quiet. I warned you, Mira. You ran. No. I was sent away. Protected. You think you blew up a king? You just burned a pawn. Then help me expose the king. There was silence. Then, for the first time, Raghu's voice trembled. You still have that ledger? Yes. I'll trade you something. What? The master list. Mira froze. He continued. There's a document. Not digital. Handwritten. Hidden. Every name, from Mumbai to Dubai. But if I give it to you, I'm dead. You're already dead to them, Mira said. But if you help me, maybe your ghost can do some good. 10. The list. Raghu kept his word. 1 week later, Nina retrieved a worn journal from a dead drop location in Mangalore. Inside, 42 names. Each one a node in the web. Each one more powerful than the last. There were bureaucrats. VCs. Retired generals. A name Mira recognized from Arman's old investment emails. Another from the board of a media group that once published an article trashing her whistleblower leak. This wasn't a story anymore. This was war. 1. Shadows within the light. Mira had never imagined herself living like this, flashing burner phones, memorizing drop points, passing coded messages in airports. A few months ago, she was just another betrayed wife. Now, she was a ghost in the system, tearing apart a syndicate of predators from within. The master list Raghu delivered had changed everything. It exposed powerful men and women, many with clean public images, linked to the abuse ring that weaponized money, power, and trust. But as Mira dug deeper into the names, the thrill of justice was replaced with dread. Because one of the names on the list was someone she knew intimately. Arman Malhotra. Her ex-husband. 2. A familiar signature. At first, she thought it must be another Arman. But the ledger included not just names, it had initial investment codes, aliases, private email handles. Arman's old email was right there, with a note beside it. Initial seed to Project Eden, 12 Indian rupees crore via Emirates Shell. Commission cleared. Project Eden. Mira had seen that phrase once, months ago, in a hushed phone call Arman took at night, long before he begged her for money. He had brushed it off, said it was just a tech fund. Now, it appeared to be part of a larger laundering operation used to groom, exploit, and silence women through pseudo-startup networks. Mira sat frozen. She had suspected Arman was complicit in some financial deceit. But this? This meant he wasn't just adjacent to evil. He was part of it. 3. The Web Titans. Naina listened silently as Mira laid out the evidence. When Mira finished, her voice cracking from disbelief, Naina placed a hand on hers. I know this is hard, she said. But if your ex is part of it, we need to act. He doesn't know what I've become, Mira whispered. To him, I'm still just the wife he fooled. That might work in our favor. You want me to confront him? No, Naina said, her eyes steel. We want you to trap him. 4. The reunion. Mira arranged a meeting. She texted Arman from a burner number, posing as someone from a discreet venture group interested in Project Eden. To her surprise, he replied in under 10 minutes. Are you from Shivendra's circle? She didn't reply immediately. The name was on the ledger too. Another confirmed player. The next message came quickly. Where are you based? We can meet, no trail. She responded with a public cafe in Delhi, crowded enough for cover, close enough to her safe house. He agreed. When Mira arrived, she wore a long coat, dark glasses, a scarf wrapped tightly. She watched him from a distance first. Arman looked thinner. Older. But confident. No guilt. No fear. A man still drunk on the illusion of control. 5. Face to face. She approached, carefully, and sat. Arman looked up, ready with a practiced smile, until he saw her. The color drained from his face. Mira? Hello, Arman. He looked around, suddenly nervous. What are you doing here? I wanted to see your face when you realized the game was over. His jaw clenched. You think you know everything, he muttered. You always were a little dramatic. I know about Project Eden. About the 12 crores. The shell company. Shivendra. I know what you funded. Silence. Then, you don't understand what you're talking about. It's not what you think. Oh. Mira said, her voice like ice. So tell me. What exactly did you think your money was doing? 6. Cracks in the mask. Arman leaned in, his voice low. You think I was in control? That I knew every transaction? I was a pawn too. They promised returns, not this. You signed the wire. You coached Raghu. You handed him women like gifts wrapped in fake funding. Don't pretend you're a victim. His face darkened. Why are you here, Mira? To offer you a deal. He laughed bitterly. You're in no position to make deals. I'm not, she said, sliding a phone across the table. Go ahead. Press play. He hesitated, then tapped it. His voice filled the speaker. A secret recording. One from months ago, back when she was still his wife. She's emotional. She won't say anything. And once Raghu is done, she'll blame herself anyway. They always do. Armin's eyes widened. Mira smiled. I'm not one of those women, Armin. 7. The deal. That night, Mira met with Naina and Kabir. He'll crack, Mira said. I gave him a choice. Give us full access to his contacts and logs, or we go public with the recordings and the ledger. And what did he say? Kabir asked. He asked for time. Said he had to clean up his trail before someone silences him. Naina shook her head. He's buying time to warn others. I know. Then why give him any? Myra's voice lowered. Because I need him to lead us to Shivendra. The man behind all this. You want to use your ex-husband as bait? I want to use him the same way he used me. As a means to an end. 8. The rift. But not everyone in the resistance agreed. Later that week, a heated meeting erupted. Armin's a core conspirator, shouted Aman, one of the tech analysts. You don't make deals with monsters. He's also a direct line to Shivendra, Mira countered. And we have nothing else. You're getting personal. This isn't justice, it's revenge. Kabir spoke then. We follow Myra's lead. This started with her. She's earned that. But the rift was clear. Mira felt the sting of doubt for the first time. Was she doing this for justice, or for vengeance? She didn't know anymore. And maybe it didn't matter. Because truth without consequences is just decoration. 9. The whistle inside the machine. 2 days later, Armin sent her a location. A high-rise in Gurgaon. Private office. Midnight meeting. Mira arrived with a hidden mic. Naina's team watched from a surveillance van. Armin looked shaken. Sweating. They know, he said. I got a message this morning. Just a red dot. Mira stayed silent. I brought you something, he said, pulling out a flash drive. Every Eden deal. Including Shivendra's code names. Mira took it. Why? Because I've seen what they do. Because I can't sleep. Because maybe I loved you, once. She laughed softly. You loved yourself. You just hate seeing yourself now. He didn't argue. She turned to leave. But then he stopped her. There's one more thing. 10. The final name. He handed her a slip of paper. A name. A politician. Clean record. Widely respected. Someone who had once praised Mira publicly for her courage. She stared at it. Impossible, she whispered. He helped fund the women's legal defense group. Armin nodded grimly. And through that group, he recruited women to pitch to Shivendra's men. Promised exposure. Gave them numbers. Took kickbacks on every deal. Myra's stomach turned. I don't know who to trust anymore, she whispered. You can't, Armin said. That's the price of truth. 11. The decision. Back at base, Mira laid everything out. The drive. The name. The betrayal. This is it, Naina said. This blows the ring wide open. But if we go public now, Mira said, they'll scatter. Hide. Rebuild. We'll lose the core. So what do you suggest? Mira looked up. We wait. Just long enough to get Shivendra. And then we burn it all. And what about Armin? There was silence. Then Mira said. I'll decide when this is over.